The new parts have arrived from the factory without issue. They'll be fitted to the car in time for the next session.
Hey, what's up guys, Alfa here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2018 career mode, episode number 49 today for the Canadian Grand Prix in Season 3. If you guys did miss the previous one at the Monaco Grand Prix, an absolute chaotic one, as Monaco has kind of proven to be on the F1 2018 game, but an absolute pile up there, as you would have seen by the title and the thumbnail, so be sure to check that one out before you see this one. But headed into then the Canadian Grand Prix, we've made another leap and bound here over Ferrari, and we're solidifying ourselves as the third best car on the grid there. And you can see we're actually pretty close to Red Bull and Haas, who are yet to upgrade now from the previous episode. Ferrari and Force India, Renault also all stagnant, as well as Mercedes as well. Pretty much, I think, actually, you know what, we're the only team, apart from Toro Rosso actually, that brought upgrades here to the Canadian Grand Prix. So maybe Honda brought some power unit upgrades here, specifically for this weekend, for the long back straights and the main straights here. But yeah, so we're the only ones really moving forward. Of course, that probably means some of the AI teams are saving up resource points for big upgrades later, so obviously we'll see how everything pans out long term in this season. But going into this weekend then, obviously one of my favorite racetracks, looking forward to it, and hopefully like last season we can try and challenge for the win potentially here. Obviously we had some good speed at Monaco and the Spanish Grand Prix, especially in qualifying, so looking forward to that. But before we get into qualifying, we're going to quickly change some of the components on our engine. Also, we can finally change the gearbox. We had a few little issues with the gearbox in Monaco, losing a gear here and there, but you didn't really see it because it didn't really affect too much my Monaco race pace, but it was a little bit of an issue here and there, so we can change that, get a new gearbox, and also just change some of the engine components to make the engine a bit fresher. Like I said, for those back straights, we're going to need that extra power, obviously. We've got a major engine update to the car in progress. That'll come in for the French Grand Prix, but we've already had one tiny upgrade before, and going into this one, we had a drag reduction update, so looking forward to see how that works out on the car. Let's get into Saturday qualifying and see how the car fares over one lap.
Hello and welcome from the circuit Gilles Villeneuve, home to the Canadian Grand Prix, for today's qualifying session. So, could be a tasty one today then, Ants. We've got all the ingredients, that's for sure. Treacherous conditions, an ever-changing racetrack, and one or two cars just behind the pace setters who maybe, just maybe, fancy a bit of an upset after a good performance from them in free practice.
And the question has to be, of course, what is that circuit going to look like in 10 to 15 minutes from now? If you think the rain's going to get worse, then you have to be straight out when the lights go green to find whatever grip you can. But if it eases off, then you're better off waiting, saving the tyres, and going out at the perfect moment. The other thing that comes with these conditions? Traffic, and the lack of visibility that comes from sitting in the spray. It's going to be a constant problem, and I expect to see a lot of frustrated drivers with ruined laps out there today.
So overcast conditions in qualifying one then here at the Canadian Grand Prix, but thankfully no rain. There was actually some rain maybe right at the start of this session, but you can see we've only got 5 minutes left as we cross the line then for our first time lap there, at the moment P13. But yeah, I basically waited until later on the session when that rain cleared up. It was only a few droplets here and there, but it made the track a little bit damp, I think, right at the start. But we are going to make it through into Q2 then. Fernando Alonso tops the timesheet along with Kevin Magnussen in second place. So my teammate and my former teammate right up there in the first part of qualifying. But obviously that can all change in Q2 and Q3 as the track rubbers in and whatnot. So here we are in Q2 then into the first turn. Pretty nice run at the moment. Vettel on provisional pole there, or not really provisional pole, provisional fastest in Q2. Obviously it all gets reset for Q3 as we chuck it through then the final chicane as close as we want, as keep on the right hand side because that's the shortest run to the finish line, and we pop in a pretty damn tasty lap time there. Eventually though, that moves us down to P9. So initially I thought it was a really good lap time then, and then I kept going down and down, but we just about make it into the top 10 then in P9. Again, Alonso tops the session, but good to see, I guess, for the competition's sake, that Vettel's right up there and the two Haas cars as well. But we have some time to find, and even more time to find in Q3 itself, because on that first flying lap in Q3 there, you saw I got very wide on the entry of turn one, just kind of got too hot under the collar into the entry basically, and just didn't slow the car down fast enough there, and we also lost some time a little bit in that high-speed chicane. And then also in the hairpin you're about to see on the exit, we kind of squirrel a little bit there on the throttle, so losing a few tenths here and there over the lap. So I think we still have maybe a good 5 or 6 tenths to find maybe on the second flyer. Already into turn 1, we're going to find some time on the entry and exit of turn 2, just like 2 tenths about there, and we can find some more time later on the lap. So at the moment, it looks like, well, actually I can't tell who's fastest because it says Ocon is just there in P8 and P9 is Verstappen, because at the moment, as it stands, I'm in P10, last in the top 10 shootout. So I don't actually know who's on provisional pole at the moment, but as we go through the final chicane, then opens the DRS, we gained a heap of time on the top right there, across the line, and it's only actually going to be P6 despite me finding that much time, and pole position will go to the Frenchman Romain Grosjean in the Haas car, the man who took my position in the Haas team after season 2 on pole position. Pretty good day for him in the office. Sergio Perez second place. Obviously the Force Indias expected them to go well, but Perez has done a lot better than Ocon has in P9 there, so that's just been him dragging the car up, I guess. Alonso does do pretty damn well in third place, and to be fair, I can't be too disheartened by P6 because you can see the entire top 10 actually, that's a mega close qualifying session, a lot closer than it has been maybe at Monaco, Spain in the previous races, in terms of, you know, I've been 3 tenths behind Alonso before, and that's been the difference of, you know, like 5 positions, whereas that, if I was 3 tenths back from Alonso, I would have been out of Q3 probably, so slap bang in the bottom. So very, very close stuff. So that might mean it's a very close, tight-knit race, which means the strategy is going to be a big factor, and also there might be some forecasts also for a little bit of rain. There was some rain at the start of Q1, so there might be some rain on Sunday as well. So let's go to the intro then, and we'll see how this is going to go, but I think this might be quite a close for Canadian Grand Prix.
We're back once again beside the St. Lawrence River here in Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix. The event first moved to a variant of this track back in 1978. It was won by none other than Gilles Villeneuve, the first Canadian to ever win his home race, and in whose honour the circuit would be renamed. We'll be seeing top speeds of around 210 miles an hour here at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve, with around 2/3 of the lap taken at full throttle. High-speed chicanes spell potential danger, especially at the infamous Wall of Champions. And watch out for overtaking into the hairpin and the final chicane. Well then, after an exciting qualifying session yesterday, let's take a look at how the cars line up. Romain Grosjean lines up on pole position, edging out Sergio Perez, who lines up P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Vettel, Magnussen, the engineer, and Raikkonen, Ricciardo, Ocon, Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, Bottas, Leclerc, Fernando Alonso. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. And Hülkenberg, Sainz, Stroll, Marcus Ericsson and Sergei Sorokin. Gasly and Brendan Hartley rounds off the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
So here we are on the grid then in P5, in fact, because unfortunately my teammate Alonso has been dealt an engine penalty of some sort. He's down to P13, so that's really frustrating from a team perspective because it could have been a really good double point-paying position, hopefully. Obviously, Monaco wasn't the best time for Alonso. He got caught out in that kind of pile-up and also just the strategy and being caught up behind those two Force Indias for most of the Monaco Grand Prix weekend. So, yeah, again, another hit to Alonso's bad luck there, but he's just going to have to try and make the most of it then from P13. Obviously, our car's pretty good in a straight line now these days, so hopefully he can make some overtakes. But you can see on the strategy then, a default 2-stop, but there is that one little indicator of wet weather towards the end of this race. But then it's followed by clear skies, or at least overcast conditions, so I'm not sure how much the rain will come down. We might have another situation like the Spanish Grand Prix, where it's going to be dry tyres on a wet track. We'll have to see, but let's just psych ourselves up for this Grand Prix. Before we get into it quickly, just want to say I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, so if you do hear a random cough or two in the commentary, I'll try and cut them out, but just heads up, that's why maybe some of the commentary might sound a little bit weirder than usual, because a little bit under the weather after going out on the weekend. So anyway, let's get into the Grand Prix then for the Canadian Grand Prix from P5 now, elevated position, and let's see if we can have a good one today. As we rev up to 5 red lights for round number 7 of Season 3 of the F1 2018 career mode. 5 red lights are out and we're underway. It's a fantastic start there from Kevin Magnussen off P4 there, trying to go around the outside of Sebastian Vettel into turn 1. Kimi tries the same round the outside of us. It's 2 by 2 as Grosjean there tries to defend his pole position off from Sergio Perez, who's in second place and does manage to keep that second as Magnussen does get ahead of Vettel up into P3. So a great start then from the Haas guys, as it's 1-3 and might be even a 1-2 soon enough, because Magnussen really looked like he wanted it off the line there, and Vettel a little bit slow already in this opening stage of the race as we end lap 2. Vettel already losing some time then to Magnussen and Perez, and we're gaining there as Grosjean set to purple second lap there. So Grosjean getting away, you can see in the minimap, and also just ahead of us there. He's already kind of getting through to the next corner whilst Perez tries to defend from Magnussen. So it might be a bit of a Haas domination maybe once Magnussen gets past Sergio Perez. Probably inevitable at some point, but we're trying to get past Vettel at the moment. Just wasn't able to do it on the end of lap 2. Maybe now the next lap we'll get a little bit luckier on the end of lap 3. DRS open now for the first time. Overtake mode and ERS. We're going to try it around the outside as Magnussen does the same to Perez, and both myself and Magnussen unable to overtake the man we're trying to overtake into the chicane. But now the difference is Magnussen has a much better run through the last chicane, going to go to the inside. It's a big dive there from the Dane to make it second place, and a 1-2 for the Haas team there. He goes round the outside, and it's going to be a fantastic overtake then on the Mexican, who's now relegated to P3 in this Grand Prix. Vettel still in P4, unable to do anything for myself at the moment, but can we have another good run now on the end of lap 4 maybe this time? Again, overtake mode on ERS. Rich Mix going DRS open. We're so far back at the moment, we're going to have to maybe be a little bit daring and bold and really chuck it into the final corner to see what we can do. We do just that, and we do gain a heap of time on Vettel, who opens DRS as well off Sergio Perez. But with hot lap mode on the ERS giving us the acceleration, can we make a little bit of a dive? It's going to be a late one there. It's a big lunge, to be fair, and Vettel does well to fend that off there on the inside of the next corner. And so that was quite, ambitious to make that pass, but at the moment it's almost feeling like Monaco in a way. I just can't get past Vettel. I have the speed clearly over the actual one lap in clean air maybe, but at the moment in his dirty air, just unable to make anything work. In sectors 1, I just can't keep up in close enough with him in the traction zones to maybe make a pass into sector 2. Meanwhile, we've got the 2 Mercedes cars fighting there. You can see Alonso is right behind them, going side by side with one of the Sauber cars, actually having to defend from the Sauber of Ericsson, I think that is, because I think Leclerc is ahead of all this fight. But Hamilton and Bottas go side by side. I think Hamilton might just have that against Valtteri there, but both the Mercedes cars fighting for the wooden spoon just outside the top 10 then. And Alonso, unfortunately, once again, like I said, I said it felt like Monaco for myself and Vettel. It's probably feeling a lot more like Monaco for Alonso all over again, being stuck behind the slow Mercedes cars here. And so that's really going to be quite annoying for us as a team as we get on through this Grand Prix, that maybe Alonso just can't, do something about him, can't get some decent points if he can't get past those Mercedes cars, because they might be slow in the corners, but I think they're still okay in a straight line maybe. But now as we move on back to our POV, we go down the inside of Sebastian Vettel, because on lap 6 we're going to come in for a pit stop along with Sergio Perez. Vettel continues on for one lap there, so no, that wasn't a dangerous overtaking and manoeuvre, just trying to go down the inside into the pit lane a little bit faster than rather than slowing down. I'm not sure, technically I think that's maybe an illegal move in real life, but in the game it's all fair and square as AI can avoid it quite easily. So make a good pit stop there, good enough that actually I think we kind of go inside Sergio Perez for a second there, because he was a little bit see-through on the exit of the pit lane there. So my pit crew actually did a great job there. We're on to a set of ultra soft tyres then, so we are sticking to the 2-stop only because there's a chance we don't even make the 2-stop, before the rain comes potentially. But we're going a little bit earlier than I wanted to. The default I think was around lap 8 pitting in, but we've gone 2 laps earlier to try and get an undercut on Sebastian Vettel, because like I said, I was getting quite frustrated of how annoying it was being held up by him. So we're going to see this time round, unlike quite a few times in the past, if maybe the undercut can work for us. But first of all, we're actually going to concentrate on Sergio Perez here, who's being held up in an absolute treat there by the Toro Rosso of Hartley. We send one down the inside then and catch him completely unawares and napping at the hairpin, and it's a pretty simple pass to P17, but Perez might come back. Obviously we know how slippery the Force India is in a straight line, very good qualifying pace, and so here he comes back again with DRS on the left hand side there. We've got the inside line though, so a big late brake zone there into the chicane. We're not going to get bullied off the racing line, and we're going to keep P17. We're trying to chase after Hartley then, but on the left hand side on the mini-map you can see there is Sebastian Vettel just coming out of the pit lane now, I think. So we have jumped the German successfully, and we have also obviously overtaken Perez. So effectively in that pit stop phase and on the outlap we made 2 overtakes, one free one on Vettel, and then one we made actually on track there on Sergio Perez. So Vettel being fed in then to a bit of traffic, so that's going to be good for us, but doubly good that we just got past him fair and square on the strategy work. So good call to make that undercut, and so now I can kind of go away and try and pass this traffic, and then Pretty much it's a case of just getting through, and we should be in P3 then, because obviously Perez was in P3. It was the 2 Haas cars ahead of them, so we just need to hopefully survive the traffic and not get re-overtaken by Perez, and we should be into P3 just like that, and then it'll be a case of maybe trying to chase after the Haas cars. And seeing about that, but at the moment, to be fair, I really think they have maybe this entire Grand Prix under wraps as we now make a move down the inside of Pierre Gasly. We almost get squeezed out completely off circuit there as Pierre really gets the elbows out. Obviously, I know these guys don't have blue flags, it's all for positions, but he did get very aggressive with me defending that position. But also at the same time, I will admit I went very, very ambitious with that dive bomb, but I just want to really try and get through this traffic as fast as we can so I can try and maybe have some sort of chance to chase after Magnussen and Grosjean this afternoon before the rain comes down, because I think once it comes down, my pace will definitely slow down once those droplets come through in the air. So we now go around the outside then of Lance Stroll. It's a late dive into the chicane. We only just about survived that. We had to really slow it down, and to the point where the Canadian, the home man, comes back at us on the inside there. I'm going to do some defending into turn 1. But then obviously on the inside of turn 2, we have the better racing line, and so we will maintain that P9 at the moment. Still a fair few cars to get through, and I'm surprised actually a lot of cars trying a one-stop here. Obviously everyone outside the top 10, I'm assuming, is maybe trying that one-stop, but it won't matter for us because, like I said, it might end up being effectively a dry one-stop for us as well, because when the rain comes, if it comes hard enough and we switch on to inters, everyone would have done one dry pit stop, so in the end it won't matter too much that everyone's going to be on that same strategy then. So I'm not too worried about it. It's just about basically surviving this traffic, like I said, and here that's exactly what I mean. Is now you can see Ericsson there lost a lot of time with Hulkenberg, and that could have easily been my front wing off there if I didn't, I wasn't careful enough at making sure and preempting that Ericsson was going to be squeezed out like that. I went intentionally slow into the chicane to get the exit a lot tighter and undercut his racing line, and if I didn't do that, I would have smashed into Ericsson's back end there. So you have to be careful when you're getting through traffic that's not on the blue flag, when they're fighting each other fair and square. It's always a worrying time as now we try and peek around the outside of Carlos Sainz, and he gives us the room there. A little bit of contact on the exit, but we do make a stunning move down the inside of the Spaniard there as he gets held up behind the 2 slow Mercedes cars. Very weird to say that sentence, that Sainz was getting held up by them, but he was. But Sainz comes back at us, and then a huge brake check for him in the middle of the chicane. So the race winner last time out gets very angry and feisty with me, and now it's 3 wide as Ericsson sends it down the inside. Hulkenberg on the outside there. We're going to back out that, otherwise I'm going to get squeezed and sandwiched between the 2. But it's all kicking off now, and that was a great little sequence there, watching Ericsson and Hulkenberg either side of me. But now can we try and re-overtake both of them there? Hulkenberg goes for the move on this Swede. We're going to go to the inside of both of them, then down the inside of the chicane, and we just about sling that through to get back up into P7 there. But my word, that was very, very tense and close. Especially as I made that, slammed on the brakes into the chicane. I wasn't entirely confident I could have made that. I was a little bit worried I was either going to go too deep and have to take to the escape road, or I was going to fling the rear end of the car around to the point where I hit the wall of champions. But thankfully we did make it work, and we are remaining in P7. We're also going to confirm that strategy call. My team want me to pit in a little bit earlier, but obviously, as I said, as we go on through this race, it is getting a little bit more darker and overcast, and now the 2 Mercedes cars have had a bit of tangle, and Bottas has lost the position there. So we overtake Sainz in a straight line, and we overtake Bottas then very simply. And look at that now. Look at Carlos Sainz go, trying to overtake the Finn as well. But we're up into P5 now and chasing after Lewis Hamilton then in the second Mercedes car here, and he should be pretty easy pickings as we go into the hairpin of the very next lap, then setting another PB as we go faster and faster in cleaner air. And so we're going to have DRS. Obviously we've got enough ERS battery to deploy and rich mix, so this will be a pretty simple pass. It's going to be a dodge to the left, fake to the left, and then go to the right there, play around with Hamilton a little bit, just toying with him, to be honest, because I can. It's, the Mercedes cars have never been this slow, so I found a great deal of satisfaction just playing around with Hamilton's AI, going to the left, going to the right. It didn't really mean much in the end. I would have made the overtake either way, but, just a bit of fun, really. Just, you may as well have some fun. Life's a bit too short to not have a bit of fun with the overtakes when you can. And then eventually Charles Leclerc will come in for his first pit stop of the afternoon, and so we'll be up into P3 in this Grand Prix. It's still a 1-2 for the Haas guys. Grosjean leading Grand Prix at the moment with Magnussen in second place. But like I said, I don't know if we can do anything about it, but we'll try our best in this stint. But you can see on the replay camera here, it is a lot darker now. So I think the rain is on its way. Actually, the track already looks a little bit damp. It's already got a bit of a sheen, so maybe the droplets are coming out already. And on lap 18, it's so overcast, and I can't quite tell if there's any droplets on my car. So I actually just literally asked my engineer for the weather forecast, and he comes back to me saying that literally the rain is on the way right now. At the moment, our tyre is the correct one, but pretty much that means when he's not giving us a time frame of like even 1 or 2 minutes, pretty much the rain is coming down now. Even though I can't see it, it is coming down pretty much now. So within 1 or 2 lap time, it will be time for the intermediate tyres. So we're going to have to watch out for that. And immediately, literally 1.5 laps later, because we're pretty much at the end of lap 18 there. So about lap 20, my engineer comes in the late pit call to come in. So very good timing there, because literally I changed my strategy onto Inters that split second I was coming in. So that's literally the perfect timing, because I think both Haas cars have continued out on dry tyres. So I am the very first car of the entire grid to come in for the intermediate, along with obviously the cars behind us, but I'm the very first one down the pit lane then. So really good timing, very, very lucky on that. And you know what? It might be good enough that we might jump the Haas cars if they're that slow on the dry tyres. Because another person who also gets caught out here is Daniel Ricciardo, the championship leader, into turn 1. I think Verstappen must have been ahead of him on track. And so Verstappen's been the Red Bull that has come in for Inters. And Ricciardo's been forced to go out again on another lap on dry tyres. So he's going to be so slow now on this lap because DRS has been disabled. And so it's literally fully time for intermediate. It's not like a crossover period. It is time to be on intermediate. So he's going to be so slow here. And look how fast Hamilton and the other cars are catching him up now, just literally through the first 2 chicanes. So like I mentioned, obviously, he's the championship leader. I'm in second place after the good second place finish we got at the Monaco Grand Prix. So this is going to be a big deal if he's going to lose a lot of time and positions in this period. And actually, as Hamilton overtakes him, he spins Ricciardo around. That is a big deal for the championship. Ricciardo spun round. He was already going to lose probably his top 10 position by being on dry tyres on a wet track here, but now he's lost even more time, and oh my god, he's now being thumped by the other Mercedes car of Valtteri Bottas. So the Mercedes car is very salty this afternoon on Daniel Ricciardo. Hamilton spins him out, then Bottas just hits him when he's already down there, and so Ricciardo is going to be so slow on that in-lap, and he's also going to have to make a pit stop in terms of changing his front wing as well as going into intermediates. And then for us, here we go now. We're up into second place as Magnussen has also done the same as Ricciardo. Obviously, his effect was a little bit lessened because he was further ahead. But Magnussen has lost out there by going 1 lap too long on dry tyres. And so we're up into second place. We split the 2 Haas cars. Grosjean still leads the way by some fair margin because that's how big his lead was to Magnussen. But we're in a brilliant P2 now. And Ricciardo is well and truly outside the top 10 now. And so that if we remain in P2, that's going to be 18 points, a whole 18 we gain on him. And I think that's maybe even the gap he had to us in the championship. So this could blow the Drivers' Championship completely wide open, as now you can see Sergio Perez has some good pace in the wet here, overtakes Hamilton, and Hamilton immediately pressurized by Kimi Raikkonen. Vettel at the moment way down the order. Raikkonen, the only Ferrari anywhere near the top 5 now, pressurizing the Brits, and Perez with some really good pace because he pressurizes Magnussen. So Kimi, though, on the exit gets some really good pace on the traction zone there. Can the Ferrari send one down the inside? Here he goes, getting squeezed towards the wall, but down the inside of Hamilton, then into turn 1, and Hamilton tries his best to defend into turn 2, but Raikkonen trying to play with a throttle on the outside there. So close to both those cars tiptoe, but look at that. The Ferrari shoots ahead on the right-hand side. This is the most awkward camera angle in the world, but Raikkonen does get it, and he's up to the order, and the Mercedes car is now going to fall back. But to be fair, both Mercs are in a very decent position, compared to where they should be on actual performance chart pace. They'll be very happy if they can both be in the points-paying positions today. That in itself will be a big win, as now Magnussen, speaking about big winners, a big loser, Magnussen already obviously dropped down to P3 after a bad strategy call for him, and now he's overtaken by Sergio Perez with a lock-up into the last chicane there, and now behind for the last point-paying positions, this is P8, P9, and P10, is Alonso, Leclerc, I believe that is, and Verstappen. Verstappen trying to overtake Leclerc. Leclerc doing a great job to defend, and the Sauber actually remains ahead of the Red Bull car. So it's not just a bad day in the office for Ricciardo, but also equally clearly Verstappen getting frustrated by the Sauber, and Alonso in the final points paying positions, maybe trying to get more than 1 point. Yeah, like I said, frustrating though that he got held up so much earlier, because it could have been so much more, but he's trying to do his best now. But we got yellow flags for some reason. Oh no, it's for Verstappen. He's going slow. And so I literally just said it might be a bad day in the office also for Verstappen. It's got even worse. And now Verstappen is out of the Canadian Grand Prix. Engine failure there as the smoke comes out the back of that Red Bull car. And so with Ricciardo also outside the top 10, it's going to be a complete no points finish for Red Bull Racing. So even in the Constructors' Championship, this is going to be big. So this entire race has blown both championships wide open for myself and Ricciardo there, and then also McLaren and Red Bull Racing after the race has ended. But it's still not over, because onto the last lap of the Grand Prix, I've had a horrendous exit on the chicane, nearly slammed it into the wall on the left-hand side, and so Sergio Perez has a chance to send it down my inside there as the track actually starts to dry up there. So the traction is getting less and less because it's actually drying up, and so there's not enough water to give enough grip on the intermediates, and so we just about survived that attack from the Mexican, and we're going to have to see out this last lap of the Grand Prix very tentatively and make sure we have enough battery power and fuel saved up for the last straight. To be fair though, I think I went overboard on the fuel saving and I didn't realise I had so much fuel left in the tank here, as DRS is enabled on the last lap of the Grand Prix, so it really was time to maybe be onto dry tyres. If this race went on for longer, we would be going back onto dry tyres at this point. But there you go, Romeo Grosjean wins the Canadian Grand Prix. We come home though in a very good P2 with all things considered, with Sergio Perez in a brilliant P3 there. But that is a fantastic race for us and the team for both championships.
Great drive, great drive. We're really happy with that performance.
So another fantastic victory for Haas today. So, Ant, how exactly did they set themselves apart from the pack today?
Well, I'd say it's just raw pace, plain and simple. I mean, we could sit here and talk about strategy all day, the overtaking, looking after the tyres, but at the end of it all, if you want to win, you need a package that's got the speed over everyone else, and that's exactly what they had today.
Our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations, and it's going to be Haas picking up the winner's trophy. Congratulations to the entire team for coming out on top in that amazing Grand Prix.
So pretty big day then for quite a few people. Romeo Grosjean gets his very first win in Formula 1, and it's one apiece then for both Haas cars. Magnussen obviously got the win beforehand in this season, and then for the Drivers' Championship, like I said, with Ricciardo scoring no points there, we are now level on points with Ricciardo for the technical lead of the Drivers' Championship. So this race changed everything for us in the Drivers' standings, and also Constructors-wise, we've closed up a fair bit to Red Bull now, and so it's uber close now at the top between McLaren and Red Bull. Haas moved back up into third place in the Constructors ahead of Force India. Renault, they were briefly in third place. Remember, at the end of Monaco, they're way back down now into P6 there, so reality sets in. But Ferrari and Mercedes still way lower than we thought they would be, especially Ferrari. Obviously, maybe not Mercedes, actually. Mercedes are where we thought they would be, but Ferrari a lot lower. Remember, Vettel won the first race of the season, so they've really dropped off from a very good start at Australia then. But yeah, for both championships, it's made things very, very close between McLaren and Red Bull. And to be fair, the likes of Haas and Force India, especially Haas, if they get more consistent, they could be right up there. Because I saw, actually, funny enough, that I only just realised now that Magnussen, apart from his win and like another 2 other good positions, he's had 3 DNFs in this season. Magnussen, my teammate, the one who was quite consistent last year, albeit with a bit of bad luck. So Haas, if they didn't have so many DNFs there with Magnussen and also some bad luck with Grosjean, they could well be right up there for the fight. So if they get the consistency going, Haas have still got that legacy of being the best car on the grid, and they still are on the performance chart. You can clearly see that. So it's just about them actually getting the consistency going. You can see they clearly have pace with Grosjean on pole today and the win. Magnussen obviously got the win earlier in the season, so it's just about really that consistency that kind of bogs down sometimes the AI. But anyway, looking on to upgrades then, I was a bit hesitant to see what upgrade we wanted to do. Eventually I thought, you know what, let's just go and put another egg into the basket of the engine and go for another major engine update. So we've got got one already coming for the French Grand Prix, and we'll have another one coming then for the Austrian Grand Prix. So already next episode, we should turn up to France with the best engine on the grid, and we'll make it an even better engine for the very next episode, the Austrian Grand Prix. So we'll have a really good engine in the back of this McLaren car, so that should be really, really good. But guys, if you did enjoy what was a very thoroughly entertaining Canadian Grand Prix, then be sure to smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, you can subscribe for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been Alfa, home just today, and we'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.